This video is all about how much Shmee150's car collection is actually worth. This is not one of those AI-generated fake voiceover crappy inside XYZ car collection, and it's all just nonsense and numbers are made up. This is properly researched, the true value of the collection. Let's get into it. So, how many cars has he got to start with? I'd say 19 and a half. I'll come to the half in a minute, but we're going to work through each one individually and work out what is the value of that car based on its mileage and the condition of that car. Second thing to just do an opening, is there a Shmee bounce factor? Is there some premium that exists because this guy is a very, very well-known influencer, content creator, whatever you want to call him? We can test that. Fortunately for us, he sold one of his cars not long ago publicly as well. It was a BMW 1M. That car had 96,000 miles on the clock. Super high mileage for what you would expect. Generally, most cars are half that mileage, maybe less. That car sold inclusive of fees for £38,000, just underneath actually. We've seen a similar car come to market with 84,000 miles and it sold for just under £30,000. Given the marketing that went into collecting cars, sale, which was huge when Shmee was putting his car through it, perhaps there is a bounce factor. In the region of 10 to 20%, it's really hard to put a precise figure on it, but in that ballpark. Let's get into it then. The first car we're going to highlight is the McLaren 675 LT Spider. This car has just over 19,000 miles on the clock. We've seen plenty of them sell. We saw an example sell not long ago in the Netherlands. It had a quarter of the miles that his has. It sold for 199,000, including fees. Auto Trader, there's one on there at the moment for £208,000. Again, a quarter of the miles that Shmee's car has already been reduced. I'm going to be kind here. I'm going to say in the region of £190,000 to go and buy this car, including all the fees. Today, wouldn't surprise me if you get it for a smidge under that as well. Car number 2 is this Aston Martin Vantage GT8. Again, big miles on this, over 12,000 miles on the clock. That may not sound a lot, but most of these are less than half that. You'll see this is the theme that keeps popping up. He likes to drive his cars and he shouldn't be penalised for that, but the values do reflect it. Most of these are £140,000 to £150,000. However, they're far lower mileage than his is. I think adjusting for that, if you're going to buy this car today, including fees, you're looking at 125 grand. Car number 3 is his Aston Martin V8 Vantage Roadster, 2008 model, and he's got 32,000 miles on his example. Generally, these are sort of 25 to 30 grand on average. We actually saw one sell last week, high mileage, 70,000 plus. It sold for £17,500. At this mileage, though, 32,000, you're looking in the region of 25 grand to buy one of these today. After this car, we'll ramp up the prices a little bit, but car number 4 is a Ford Focus RS. Not your standard RS, though, it is a Heritage Edition, one of only 50 made. And we've seen one sell publicly before. That car had just 59 miles on the clock and it sold for £66,000. Shmee's, well, his car today has 11,000 miles on the clock. I'm going to be very kind here and buy it off him today, including fees, for £65,000. I told you we were going to hit the big hitters, and this is the first of those. It's his Ford GT, second generation, is a base model. It's got a lot of miles. Once again, 16,900 to be specific. Now, we see these sell all the time over in the States. Generally, they're 600 to 700,000 pounds over there. You don't normally see them come with this number of miles on the clock. We've seen a few sell over this side of the Atlantic. Interestingly, when we were in Paris not long ago, I'll link a video up above for that. Shmee was there making content, and a Ford GT Carbon Series went under the hammer. That car had VAT paid on both the purchase price and the buyer's premium on top. That sold for £540,000. His face during that 3 to 4 minute period was not a happy camper. He probably wasn't made any happier by the fact a Ford GT has just sold in Switzerland with far fewer miles than his for 500 grand. I think today, his Ford GT in that mileage, it's got to start with a 5. That car sold for 500 grand. As in Switzerland, there's a bit of a bubble within itself, so you can't place too much emphasis on that price. But given every other car, when you look at the States, it's 600 to 700. With his mileage, it's got to start with a 5. I'm placing it at 575. Car number 6 is his SLS AMG Black Series. Low mileage examples, if you're under 1,000 miles, these are regularly starting with a 6 or a £700,000 price tag. However, as the mileage increases, the prices decrease. We've seen the examples here sell for the high £300,000 figures. Again, Shmee's car is high mileage, 26,900 to be precise. He also has some upgrades. We've got the Rentec R1 upgrade. We've actually seen a similar example sell in the States. That car had the same Rentec upgrade, and it sold for £392,000. However, it had less than half the miles that Shmee's car does. Adjusting for that, I think you've got to be looking in the region of £370,000 for his car today. Next is one of two Ford Mustangs that Shmee owns. This is a Shelby GT500. Most of these are 80 to 100k when you're looking to buy one today. However, most of those are sub 3,000 miles. Shmee's example, it has 14,000 miles on the clock. Again, that high mileage is hitting him. This today, it's a 70 grand car. Time for another AMG Black Series. This time, it's an AMG GT Black Series. Normally for these, you're looking anywhere between 270 to 330,000 pounds to go and buy one. However, in my research, I cannot find a single example with over 10,000 miles on the clock. Again, Shmee's car is big miles. It's 36,000 miles on the clock. It's probably the highest mileage AMG GT Black Series in the world. If you can go off under 10,000 miles, 270 grand, realistically, if you're paying over 240, you really got to ask yourself some questions. Realistically, this is probably a 235 grand car today. Car number 9 is a 1.2 litre Renault Clio. It's 5 grand. End of. Car number 10. Quite the depreciator. It's a Ferrari SF90 Stradale. New, worth £400,000 in the region of, depending on how you spec them. Today, you could walk into Ferrari Hatfield and buy a car with 6,000 miles on it for £289,000. There's another example of for £285,000. That car has 12,000 miles on the clock. Shmee's has 9,000. So in between that 285 and 290 car. Bear in mind, those are the retail asking prices. Bid them down a bit, it would not be a surprise to see Shmee's car sell for £280,000. Quite the hit from that 400 grand asking price in 2 to 3 years. Another Renault Clio for you. This time though, it's not the standard Clio. It's a Clio V6 and far more desirable at that. 51,000 miles on the clock for Shmee's example. Generally, these are 30 to 50. We have seen them edging towards £100,000. So a similar example at 52,000 miles on the odometer. That's off at 34,000 including fees. Shmee's car, we're going to put it £35,000. Car number 12, it's another big hitter. It's a Zenvo TSR-S, Danish supercar, maybe even hypercar category, but in 1,360 horsepower this thing produces. And if I sat here and said we know precisely what this is going to sell for, I'd be lying to you, and I don't want to do that. What do we know about prices then? List price was 1.4 million euros plus taxes. We've never seen one sell before. If you convert that to GBP, add the taxes, today you're probably in the region of 1.3 million pounds, but no one knows for sure. We'll put it at 1.3 for now. Next up is another Ferrari, and well, another Ferrari that's got a pretty bad press generally. It's a 296 GTS. Interestingly though, Shmee calls it the best new supercar you can buy right now. I've also seen other owners really pump these up. Whether that's because of values, whether that's because I actually believe them, I don't know. I've never driven one. However, we do know about values. Amari supercars have got a 1,700 mile 296 GTS on the market for £269,000. It's been there for a while. It's been reduced many times. Another example is with Redline Specialist cars. That's 265,000 with around 600 miles on the clock. Shmee's example has 1,600 miles on the clock, so more than one, less than the other. Given the retail asking prices, again, I'll be kind. It's a £260,000 car today. Next up is this Ford Mustang Dark Horse. Naturally aspirated, V8, manual, rear-wheel drive, sports car. It ticks a lot of the boxes. Generally, yours was £50,000 to £90,000. However, again, the mileage is an issue. Shmee's car has 14,000 miles on the clock. We saw an example sell for just over £50,000, and that had 27 miles. Realistically, it's a 45 grand car today. Car number 15 is a Ferrari Purosangue. Values on these have been all over the place in the past couple of years. Today, the cheapest one on the market is at £369,000. That car has about 1,000 miles less on the odometer than Shmee's car. Shmee's has about 4,500. This is about 3,500 miles. That's the asking price. We saw one sold on Collecting Cars, including all the fees, at 366 grand. That was an 1800 mile car versus Shmee's 4,500 mile car. Adjusting for that mileage difference, and given Purosangues are generally only heading one way, and that's south, if you were to try and buy that car today, it's a £350,000 vehicle. Okay, 5 cars to go, and this time, something a little bit different. A Porsche 914. Shmee bought this car and it was in need of some love. It's currently undergoing a restoration. Generally, these are 10 to 25k. It's not uncommon to get a runner for low £10,000. Given this car's going through a full restoration, we're valuing it before that resto. £10,000 is a fair price for this. Fun fact, in the US, these were sold as Porsche 914s, but over in Europe, they were co-branded. They were Volkswagen Porsche 914s. I think they were sold through Volkswagen dealerships back in the day. Next up is another fun one. It's a 2009 Abarth 500. However, it's a Ferrari dealer edition, one of 200 made. Originally, they were fundamentally courtesy cars for Ferrari customers. Your car would go into the service centre, Ferrari would give you one of these to go and enjoy in the meantime. Customer demand was so strong that most of those 200 actually ended up being sold to customers. About 2,000 of them were standard Fiat 500s, although a third were Abarths. This is one of those. Shmee actually bought this car on Collecting Cars for £17,000, including fees. He's quoted as saying he paid about £10,000 under market value for the car. I'm not sure that's entirely correct. We've seen others sold previously. One sold in Switzerland for £18,000. Again, Switzerland's a bit of a bubble. It's its own market. I wouldn't read too much into it. Another example sold for £22,000, but that had half the amount of miles that Shmee's car does on it. So I'm not entirely sure. £10,000 below market is right. We put this at the same price that he bought it for, 17 grand. Right, 2.5 cars to go. This one is a Ferrari Roma Spider. Shmee's car has 2,500 miles on the clock. You can walk into a Ferrari dealer today and pick up a car with under 500 miles on the clock for £199,000. Given Shmee's mileage is 5x of that, realistically, this is a £190,000 car. Next car up is a BMW M2. Shmee's is almost brand new. It's got 1,000 miles on the odometer. You start at about £50,000 asking price today. To get one at Shmee's mileage, you're looking £54,000 asking price. Places at 53 grand. You could probably chip a bit more off. In opening, I said there were 19.5 cars. This is the half car. It's a Williams FW19 show car. Why is it a half car? Well, it hasn't got any mechanicals within it. It is purely a display object. It was actually originally a simulator when Shmee bought this. He then had it essentially converted to look like an FW19. This is based on the 1997 car that Jacques Villeneuve won his World Drivers' Championship in, specifically the Monaco car they had for that year. Price-wise, really hard to put a figure on this. We've seen other show cars from Williams sell in the region of £25,000. That's where we put the value on this, 25k. There we have it then, all 19.5 cars of Shmee's collection, valued, no AI, no fake voiceover nonsense, proper human-driven valuation based on hard data. If you want to see more hard data, go to theclassicvaluer.com or download our app Drive, either on iOS or Android, and stay subscribed for plenty more videos to come.